Hi, my name's Vince and welcome to the YouTube Fixers Series 1, Episode 1. So this series is going to bring you YouTubers from all around the world doing what they do best, fixing things. Now you might wonder, why would you want to fix things? For me personally, it just gives me an amazing buzz. I love the fault finding and eventually finding out what the problem is and having a working product at the end. Always have done, hopefully always will. Some people do it for environmental reasons. It's better for the planet if we reuse and fix things rather than just dump things into landfill. Some people do it for money reasons. It's better for your wallet. If you can fix what you already have, then why do you need to go out and buy another one? Now, what are you going to get from this series? Hopefully it will be entertaining. And at the very least, I'm hoping maybe it will give you the confidence to pick up a screwdriver and safely give it a go yourself, because you never know. Often, with a bit of perseverance, you can fix many things without calling in the professional and without buying a new one. And the very first YouTuber we've got on this brand new series is going to be Roger from Retro Tech Repair. All the links for the channels will be down in the description below. He's going to be fixing up a Grandstand 1984 Star Force game, a little tabletop arcade. Similar to this, I believe it is the one that came after this one. Let's get straight into it.
Thank you, Vince. Today I'm going to be repairing this Grandstand Star Force that I bought spares or repair on eBay. And we're going to start off by having a very quick look at that eBay listing. And I paid $10.55 plus £4.20 shipping. Here's how the seller described the item. There is no mains adapter with this. It's just what you see in the pictures. I tried some batteries, but they were out of date and the machine didn't start. So probably just for spares or repair. Alright, so let's put some fresh batteries in and see if the machine does start. My suspicion is that it will not, but you never know. So these are rechargeable batteries, but they're certainly not out of date. And as we see, it's already switched on and there is absolutely nothing on the display. So our seller was quite right that when you put batteries in, out of date or not, it doesn't work. So I've had games similar to this before, and there are a number of recurring faults. So let's have a look and see if this has the same fault. 6 screws hold the base in place, the top just lifts off. In the top we have a Fresnel lens built into the front cover, some kind of scenery, plastic effects there, and then we have another coloured kind of effects to give a 3D perspective, which is quite nice, I would imagine, with the game in play. Vacuum fluorescent display works a little bit like a vacuum tube, so there is a vacuum in there. You can see little wires running up it, and also there is this black spot here. That black spot is a getter compound, so it's flashed inside when they assemble the game to absorb any outgassing from the VFD display in use. If that has gone grey, then the display's probably been exposed to air and won't work because it's a vacuum, hence vacuum fluorescent display. What we want to do is, first of all, I want to check that the power from the battery here is making its way to the printed circuit assembly from this connector. So the orange wire comes in from the battery here, and that goes to this connector, and then this connector obviously would take a DC jack. Now if you're using a DC power source, then what you don't want to do is to be charging up these batteries that are in here, because those batteries probably aren't rechargeable batteries. And so what happens is when you plug in there, it disconnects the connection to the battery and the connection goes straight to the game and it powers the game, and then when you unplug it, the batteries are connected again. What I want to do is make sure that those batteries are connected when they're in use, because sometimes these connectors will just kind of gum up. And what that means is that the switch in there stops working, and even when you put batteries in, there's no power to the board because it thinks there's an AC or DC adapter in there. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to just check to see if power comes from there to our printed circuit assembly. I installed batteries in the game and we should see about 5 volts coming into the printed circuit board. If you were using alkali batteries, you probably see more like 6 or maybe a little bit more, but for these rechargeables I'm expecting about 5 volts. It's about 5 volts. So now let's see if that 5 volts manifests itself here, where it should, coming into the connector, and it does. And does it come out from the connector? Yes, it does, and then to here. Hopefully to here. Okay, good. So we do have 5 volts going into the circuitry of the game. So the connector here and the switch within it seems to be good. So now we need to look at what else could be wrong. And to do that, we're going to get to the printed circuit assembly of the game. So it looks like on here we have 1, 2, 3 electrolytic capacitors. On the face of it, they seem to be in fairly good condition, and though you can't really tell by looking at them, I don't see any leakage from them, I don't see any bulging in them. And the things that I'll check probably are the diodes and the transistors. Active components, in my experience in these games, do tend to be a little bit vulnerable, so those are probably the first things that I'll check. Let's have a look what's on the back of the printed circuit assembly. It's like a one-sided board with most of the circuitry on the back here, with just a few kind of bridging links on there. And then presumably the microprocessor is underneath our VFD display. And in fact, yes, it is. You can see it kind of sneaked under there with a few more components. So I'm going to start off by looking first at this transistor. And this transistor is marked D471. And I've looked that up on my phone, and D471 is an NPN transistor. Now, NPN transistors, well, bipolar transistors come in two sorts, NPN and PNP, two basic sorts that is, and they're made up of different types of silicon in kind of a sandwich. This is an NPN, and then you'll have an emitter, a base, and a collector. And it's very easy to test those using just a multimeter with a diode test function. So here's my multimeter. It has a diode test function on it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my positive probe and I'm going to put it on the P, the positive part of our NPN transistor, which is going to be the base. And I'll need to look up to see which leg it is. It might be marked on the board, but sometimes I have to look at the data sheet. So I'm going to put that on there, and I should see about 0.7 of a volt. I should then be able to see the same when I do it the other way around. So again, positive on here, this time negative on the collector, and again I should see about 0.7 volts. If I see a short or an open on any of those links, or even straight across, then I have a faulty transistor. So let's go ahead and test it. I think I'm just going to sneak to the back of the board just to give me easy access to its legs here. And I'm going to take the positive probe, put it on our base here. Okay, so there it is, 0.628, exactly what we expected to see. So that's between either base and collector or base and emitter. I'm not sure exactly what the pinout is. I just know that this is the base. It's the P in our PNP. So we get 0.7 or 0.6 of a volt in one direction. Okay, and let's try it to the other one now. No. Nothing. Nothing at all. So what we're seeing then is we are seeing a 0.7 volt drop from here to here, but not from here to here. So I actually think that this transistor here is faulty. So we're going to remove it from the board using my desoldering tool, and then we'll pop it in a circuit tester and we'll take a look to see if my diagnosis was correct. So I removed the transistor from the printed circuit board using my desoldering tool. Now let's go ahead and test it in the component tester. Unknown or damaged part. So we'll just try it in a different orientation. And this time it thinks it's a capacitor. So it turned out that I didn't have a D4781 transistor, but what I do have is a lot of salvage boards that I bought as a job lot quite a long time ago, and on those is a D882 transistor, which I think is going to be close enough to repair our game. So we'll steal the D882 from here. Now, of course, not everybody's going to have a scrap board that they can steal parts from, but these transistors are available pretty widely and pretty cheaply on eBay, so there shouldn't be any trouble sourcing a part to replace a faulty transistor in a game like this. Since this was taken from a salvage game, we do need to make sure that it's good before we go to the trouble of soldering it back in. And hopefully you can see there that it recognizes it straight away as an NPN transistor, so this looks to be a good part. So since the pinout of the old component and the replacement are the same, it's just a case of inserting the new component where the old one was, making sure the orientation is correct, and then soldering it in place. So that's our new part in situ. Let's see if the game now plays. So I've dimmed the lights a little bit and I've put the batteries back in. Now, of course, when everything's assembled, we're going to have a switch here and it will jumper these two things across. But I don't have the switch in situ, so I'm just going to jumper it across with a short jumper lead, and we'll see if our game now comes up. So it looks like that was a success. There's no sound at the moment because that would require that I jumpered the mute button too, but that should come back when we get everything reassembled. So let's get it reassembled and see how it plays. So I must admit, after all that effort, I was initially a little bit underwhelmed with the gameplay. But in fact it does have a number of features that its contemporaries like maybe an Astro Wars doesn't have. The play area is much wider, and as you get into the later levels, the formation of the attacking aliens is more complicated than in some of the game's contemporaries. All in all, it's a very enjoyable game, and I'm sure it would have been very impressive in maybe the 80s when it first came out. So I'm going to fast forward through the video footage so that you can see some of those higher levels, and now all that remains for me to say is, hey Vince, back to you.
Well, Roger, that there is the perfect fix. One component stopping the whole thing from working. Swap out the component, works again, and hopefully will keep working for many years to come. Thank you so much. Next up, we've got me, my mate Vince, and I'm going to be fixing up this 1980s Roberts radio. So this thing looks absolutely lovely, but it wasn't always so nice when I got it from eBay. So let's jump straight into the video where you see me initially testing it, then I fix it, and then I restore it. But let's see now, is anything going to happen? No, nothing's happening. So, let's take it apart and see what's going on. It does look quite grubby and dirty. I'm wondering if it's going to be as simple as the on and off switch not making a contact, because we haven't got any life on it whatsoever. So let's see now if we can work out how this thing comes apart. These things here just unhook the handle. There we go. I don't think this has ever been apart before. There we go, right. Handle is off. Let's undo these two screws here and here. So I'm thinking in this era they would have still been made in the UK. To undo the aerial here. Yes. Come on. Let's undo this here because this is putting strain on these wires. The speaker has little spade terminals down here, so we can actually completely take it out. Perfect, we are now free. So that is it there. You can actually see it is a solid piece of wood on both sides. This isn't no veneer, this is a proper nice bit of wood. And it looks like it's leather bound. Whether it's real or not, I'm not too sure. Okay, now on and off switch is this one here. Let's see if we have continuity on it. That's going off there. Oh, interesting. Oh, here we go. Hold on. Wait. Oh, it's very hit and miss, isn't it? It does look like there's corrosion or something here, though, doesn't it? Look at that. Let's just quickly plug it in now. Maybe that was enough to fix it. No. Oh, yes, there we go. It went off for a second there. It's this. Listen. It's dirt in the contact here, dirty switch. I think we just need to clean that switch out. Let's take it apart and see if we can see the inside, because we've definitely got corrosion on that bit there. I mean, I could probably just clean it with IPA and it might work. I just kind of wanted to see if it was possible to see the inside of it. Yeah, do you know there's some kind of glue here? Yeah, there's like this reddish glue which is holding these in here. Right, I think that would be a silly idea if I persevered with that. So let's just flood it with IPA, keep doing this, try to get the dirt out of it. Even up here, that top layer of the spring has got corroded there. You see in here? So this has definitely had some kind of liquid damage. There, look at that. Here we have it, the 99.9% isopropyl alcohol. Seems to be okay now, doesn't it? Yeah, I'm going to get the deoxit and put that in there now. I'm just going to keep working it into the hole. This is where the spray version, the aerosol version, would be better because it would force its way down in here, while really I'm just hoping that gravity will pull this in. And in the meantime, I might as well start cleaning this up, because I think it's probably going to be working fine. Let's give it all a nice good clean, then we can put it back together at the end and test it all. If there's something else not working, then we can worry about that then. So I'm just going to be using these Dettol wipes here. Oh, these come off. Make it even easier for cleaning. Excellent.
Where I had sometimes played chess, and when I'm out, I'm looking for that vintage fling. But all complexions that I adore, so hard to find these seem
It's a sesame seed.
to score, so I keep on. Someday find that vintage love.
By appointment to Her Majesty the Queen, Radio Manufacturers, Roberts Radio Company Limited. Lovely.
Out of a sudden, you came through the door. At the next table, you're whisking me. The lights were dim as our eyes met when you saw me. And forevermore, I like to share that vintage stream.
Oh, that's nice. Look at that. That is quality. So can you see these little holes here? There's a little ball bearing here. And look, it flicks in. So when you turn the aerial, it goes nicely into position. I'm just cleaning up this bit here, and I realise that this has actually come out from here. So this should be in this little bit. There we go. I think I'm going to have to pop a little bit of hot glue on that. I'm just going to put some there and also on there. So after that mammoth cleaning session, all we now have to do is the final touching up. So we're going to be adding some nice silver paint pen around the badge, because the original silver finish has been worn away throughout the years. And then once we've done that, we can then touch up the grille with some black paint. And now quite possibly the nicest job, revarnishing the wood on either end. You could use Danish oil to give it a nice finish, but I'm going to go for a nice clear gloss varnish just to finish it off. Now it is really starting to come together now. It is looking lovely. Right, let's get it all back together and see if it's all working. It looks amazing. It really does just look lovely. And it's working fine. I can't find any fault with it whatsoever. All the bands work. I've got it on FM at the moment. Let's see if I can get some talking. But I've been listening to it and it sounds perfect. Yeah, loads of volume. Loads of volume. Off, on.
.org.uk jobs@partnersinsupport.org.
There we go.
No,
and have a look here. You see the slow it down. The display underneath there. It looks lovely. It's got like a nice blue tone to it. It just looks fantastic. I'm so happy with it. Well, I hope you enjoyed that one there, because I really loved this little radio. Now, to end Series 1, Episode 1, we have Steve from StezStix Fix, and he's going to be fixing the very original PlayStation. So, in the mid-1990s, 1994 I believe, Sony released their first console, and obviously now it's a household name. But it's got to the age where more and more faults are starting to crop up on these devices because of the age of them. So over to you, Steve.
Thanks very much, Vince. Yes, let's see if we can get this Sony PlayStation 1, the original version, up and running. Now, the problem with this is that it isn't reading any discs. So, I mean, it could be a laser problem, or it could be something else. So, I've never actually taken one of these apart before. So it'd be really interesting to see what's on the inside, and we'll see if we can get it going. Let's do this. Okay, so it's all hooked up. Let's just see if we can demonstrate the problem. So as you can see, the PlayStation comes on, and it loads up just fine. And to test it, we're going to use probably the best PlayStation game ever, and that is Barbie Super Sports. So let's pop that in. Doesn't do anything. If we just push down this button here at the back, which sort of tricks it into thinking that the lid's closed, you can see it gives a couple of pulses, but then does nothing. If we do that without the disc, obviously don't look directly at the laser lens. You can see there's a couple of pulses from the spindle, but the laser assembly is not moving up and down. If we were to move the laser assembly out slightly, like so, you can see it moves very quickly back to the middle, but we're getting no pulse, we're getting no up and down movement from the laser lens itself. So I think that probably is a problem with the laser lens. So let's open this bad boy up. Hiya! Nice. Let's just have a look at this, pop this out. Ribbon cable looks okay. I don't think there's any problems with that. The difficulty with working on this is that this is one complete unit. I mean, we do have a couple of screws here where we can get access to the motor, etc. But if this is gone, it's, you know, if the laser's burnt out, there's not really a lot you can do about it. Oops. But it's worth having a look. Right, so we've got, looks like there's a switch at the end of here, yeah, which must tell it that it's reached the end of travel. So let's just get the multimeter out and just check that that switch is okay. So we've got nothing there. If we press the button, then it's okay. I think before I delve too deeply into this, let's see if I can get another one of these and see if, you know, we put that one in, this then starts working. I've got this old PS1, not PS1, and it's pretty grim. I haven't got round to working on it yet. And just looking at the laser assembly, it looks very similar. I don't know if it's the same, but I think I'm going to take it out and see if it is the same. So I'm going to open this up now. Right, and there it is. I think it is the same, but the ribbon cable is a lot shorter. So I don't think I'm going to be able to use it as a replacement, but I'll pop it in if I can. Okay, well let's see if we can turn that on now. And let's see if that behaves any differently. There you go, you can clearly see that moving up and down. So, I mean, I could buy a replacement laser assembly, one that, you know, is designed for the original PlayStation, or I can try and modify this one maybe. You know, the ribbon cable isn't long enough, but surely there's a way that I can extend that somehow. These are exactly the same connections on here, but I just don't know how easy it is to get those off and replace them. I'm guessing not very. I might give it a go. This doesn't want to come off. No, I don't think I'm going to be able to do that without ripping it. I could perhaps do one of my infamous Captain Bodge jobs on it. To cut an incredibly long story short, I snipped the ribbon cable and tried to solder 16 tiny wires. I got them all on, but because they were so close to the connector, every time I heated the solder pads up, the wires fell off. So I kind of gave up. And then I thought, let's try plan B. Right, so plan B, which involves adding a tiny bit of solder to the end of this connector here, and then I'm going to run the wires from here down to the other one, and hopefully that will work better and it will still fit inside the connector. That's the theory anyway.
Now the soldering that you see Steve do here is actually very hard, purely because of the size of it. These wires might look big when you're watching it on a big screen, but they're 0.1 of a millimetre, so that's 1/10 of a millimetre, only slightly larger than a human hair. So one little twitch with your elbow, hand, or one sneeze and you end up taking 3 or 4 wires off in one go. Now with these wires, they may look like they're pure copper and you're thinking what's going to stop them from shorting together. They're actually enamelled, so they have got a coating on. So even if the wires touch together mid-length, they're not going to short against each other. So let's get back to Steve and his hard soldering.
Right, okay, wow. Let's try that now. Let's see if that connector fits in, and let's see if we've got continuity. Right, I think I need to probably give this a bit of strength, so I'm going to put some Captain tape around it. Right, I think that'll do for now. I'm not going to test continuity. I'm gonna leave it as a surprise. Right, let's pop this in. Ho ho ho! Right, so there we have it, all back together. If you look inside here, you can just make out the bodgy wires underneath. So let's pop Barbie Super Sports back in. And let's power it on. Boom! There's not a chance in hell I thought that would work. That is incredible. Barbie software for girls. Bye, Barbie. I really enjoyed that one. It was a little bit different. I could have just bought a connector, you know, an extension for it, but like I said before, where's the fun in that? So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to hand back to you, Vince.
Thanks for that, Steve. It makes my heart happy knowing that you've got your favourite game working again. So now, with a fix like that, most people would have just changed out the laser. But depending on the country you live in and the product you're working on, you might not always have an availability of spares. So it's always useful to think out of the box. So that is it for the very first episode of the YouTube Fixers. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And if it does well, I would love for this to be an ongoing series featuring YouTubers from all around the world. Now, it doesn't have to be electronics. It can be absolutely anything. If you're into repairing toys, furniture, cars, buildings, I would love to hear from you. So contact me, and if your channel is suitable, maybe you can feature in a future episode. So until the next time, take care.